68th Annual Grammy Awards unfolded on February 1st, 2026, at Los Angeles Crypto.com Arena, a night where the boundaries of musical excellence were redefined, and where stories of perseverance, innovation, and artistic courage took center stage. The ceremony wasn't merely an awards show, but a cultural moment that captured the zeitgeist of contemporary music, honoring 95 categories that spanned every conceivable genre and artistic expression. As the sun set over Los Angeles that Sunday evening, the world's greatest musicians, producers, songwriters, and engineers gathered under one roof. The air was electric with anticipation, thick with the weight of history about to be written. This wasn't just another awards ceremony. This was a testament to human creativity in its purest form. Kendrick Lamar, the poet laureate. Kendrick Lamar arrived at the ceremony as the evening's top nominee with 9 nominations, a figure that spoke volumes about his artistic output and cultural impact. But numbers alone couldn't capture the essence of who Lamar is as an artist. Here was a man who had spent his entire career refusing to compromise, who viewed hip-hop not merely as entertainment, but as a vehicle for social commentary, personal exploration, and poetic expression. The album GNX represented the culmination of years spent perfecting his craft. It was raw, unfiltered, and unapologetically honest. Each track was a window into Lamar's psyche, exploring themes of identity, legacy, and the weight of expectation. When he collaborated with SZA on Luther, he created something that transcended typical collaborations. It was a conversation between two souls, intimate and vulnerable, set against production that felt both minimalist and expansive. Lamar's victory for Best Rap Album with GNX wasn't surprising to those who had listened deeply to the project. This was an album that demanded multiple listens, that revealed new layers with each pass. His win for Best Rap Song with TV Off, featuring Lefty Gunplay, demonstrated his ability to craft singles that worked both as standalone pieces and as integral parts of a larger narrative. The song pulsed with energy, featuring production from Jack Antonoff and Soundwave that married traditional hip-hop elements with unexpected sonic textures. Perhaps most revealing was his Best Melodic Rap Performance win for Luther with SZA. This category recognized Lamar's range, his ability to move seamlessly between hard-hitting rap and melodic introspection. The chemistry between Lamar and SZA was undeniable, two artists at the peak of their powers creating something that felt both timeless and utterly contemporary. Lamar stood on that stage not as a rapper but as a complete artist, someone who understood that music could change minds, challenge perceptions, and offer solace in troubled times. His acceptance speeches were characteristically humble, acknowledging his collaborators and the tradition he was part of while also pushing the art form forward. Lady Gaga, the chameleon. Lady Gaga entered the evening with 7 nominations, and those who knew her career trajectory understood this was both a comeback and a continuation. Gaga had always been an artist of contradictions, outrageously theatrical yet deeply vulnerable, commercial yet avant-garde, a pop star who commanded respect from jazz purists and rock legends alike. Her album Mayhem was aptly named. It represented controlled chaos, an exploration of the darker corners of fame, identity, and desire. Working with producer Circuit and Andrew Watt, Gaga had crafted an album that felt dangerous, unpredictable, and utterly necessary. This wasn't the Gaga of Poker Face or even the Gaga of Shallow. This was an artist unafraid to burn everything down and rebuild from the ashes. When she won Best Pop Vocal Album for Mayhem, it validated her artistic risks. The album had divided critics initially, with some calling it too dark, too chaotic, but that was precisely the point. Gaga was never interested in meeting expectations, she was interested in shattering them. Her win for Best Dance Pop Recording with Abracadabra showcased another facet of her artistry. The song was a masterclass in production, with Circuit, Gaga, and Andrew Watt creating a track that worked equally well in clubs and on headphones. The mixing by Serban Genia was pristine, each element sitting perfectly in the mix, creating a sonic landscape that was both aggressive and inviting. Perhaps the most unexpected win came in Best Remix Recording, where Jessa Felstein's remix of Abracadabra took home the trophy. This collaboration between Gaga and the French electronic producer represented the marriage of pop sensibility and underground electronic music. The remix stripped away some of the original's polish, adding industrial textures and a driving techno beat that transformed the song into something even more menacing and beautiful. Gaga's journey to this night had been marked by constant reinvention. She had been a pop phenomenon, an Oscar-winning actress, a jazz vocalist alongside Tony Bennett, and now she was reclaiming her place as one of pop music's most fearless innovators. Standing on that Grammy stage, adorned in an outfit that was part haute couture, part armor, she represented the idea that pop music could be intelligent, challenging, and commercially successful all at once. Amy Allen, The Invisible Hand. While Kendrick Lamar and Lady Gaga commanded attention with their performances and public personas, Amy Allen represented something equally vital, but often overlooked: the songwriter who shapes popular music from behind the scenes. Her win as Songwriter of the Year, non-classical, was a recognition long overdue for someone who had been instrumental in crafting some of the decade's biggest hits. Allen's journey to this moment was one of persistence and dedication to craft. She understood that great songwriting wasn't about flashy metaphors or complex structures. It was about capturing universal emotions in ways that felt both specific and relatable. Her work on Sabrina Carpenter's Manchild demonstrated this perfectly. The song dealt with themes of immaturity and disappointment in relationships, but Allen's lyrics avoided cliché, instead opting for conversational honesty that made the listener feel like they were overhearing a friend's confession. Her contribution to Risset and Bruno Mars's Apt showed her versatility. This was a song that had to work across cultures and languages, appealing to both K-pop fans and mainstream pop audiences. Allen, working with a team of co-writers including Christopher Brody Brown, Regate Chahade, and others, helped craft something that felt effortlessly catchy while maintaining musical sophistication. But Allen's genius extended beyond individual songs. Looking at her complete body of work from the year, which included tracks for Jessie Murph, Shabuzi, and J.N.I.E., revealed an artist with an uncanny ability to adapt her style to different voices while maintaining a consistent level of quality. She could write introspective ballads and up-tempo bangers with equal skill, always serving the artist and the song rather than imposing her own style. In her acceptance speech, Allen spoke about the collaborative nature of songwriting, about the late nights in studios, the endless revisions, the moments of breakthrough that made all the struggle worthwhile. She thanked her co-writers, understanding that great songs are rarely the product of a single mind, but rather the result of creative chemistry and shared vision. For young songwriters watching at home, Allen's win was a beacon of hope. It showed that talent, hard work, and dedication to craft could lead to recognition, even in an industry that often prioritized performers over creators. Leon Thomas, The Soul Searcher. Leon Thomas's win for Best R&B Album with Mutt represented the arrival of an artist who had been quietly building a devoted following through authentic, vulnerable music. Thomas had never been interested in chasing trends or manufacturing viral moments. Instead, he had focused on creating music that reflected his own experiences, his own struggles with identity, love, and self-acceptance. Mutt was an album that defied easy categorization. It blended traditional R&B with elements of indie rock, electronic music, and even jazz. The production, handled by Thomas alongside producers like Freaky Rob and Peter Lee Johnson, felt organic yet polished, creating spaces for Thomas's voice to shine while also showcasing instrumental virtuosity. His second win of the night, Best Traditional R&B Performance for VIBES Don't Lie, showed his respect for R&B's roots even as he pushed the genre forward. This wasn't pastiche or nostalgia. It was a young artist engaging with tradition while adding his own voice to the conversation. Thomas's journey to this moment had been marked by false starts and setbacks. He had been in the industry for years, working as a songwriter and producer for others while nurturing his own artistic vision. The success of Mutt proved that patience and persistence could pay off, that there was still room in the music industry for artists who prioritized artistry over commercial calculation. In interviews leading up to the Grammys, Thomas had spoken about the album's title. Mutt represented his feeling of being between worlds, not quite fitting into traditional R&B, not fully embraced by alternative music circles. But instead of seeing this as a weakness, he had embraced it, creating music that existed in the spaces between genres. Standing on that Grammy stage, holding his trophies, Thomas represented hope for independent artists everywhere. He proved that you didn't need a major label push or manufactured controversy to create music that resonated. All you needed was honesty, talent, and the courage to be yourself. Circuit the Sonic Architect, producer of the year, is always one of the Grammy's most competitive categories, and Circuit's victory was a testament to his remarkable range and influence across the pop music landscape. Born Henry Walter, Circuit had been a behind-the-scenes force in pop music for years, but 2026 marked his emergence as one of the industry's most sought-after collaborators. His work on Lady Gaga's Mayhem album was transformative. Circuit understood Gaga's vision of controlled chaos and helped realize it through production that was simultaneously aggressive and beautiful. Tracks like Abracadabra and Disease featured layers upon layers of production, each element carefully placed to create maximum impact. But Circuit's genius was most evident in his versatility. His production on Risset and Bruno Mars's Apt was completely different from his work with Gaga, brighter, more playful, yet equally sophisticated. He could move from dark electronic pop to radio-friendly collaborations without losing his artistic fingerprint. Working with The Weeknd on tracks like Big Sleep, featuring Giorgio Moroder, showed Circuit's ability to facilitate collaborations between legends and contemporary stars. The song paid homage to Moroder's pioneering electronic work while feeling completely modern, a difficult balance that Circuit navigated with apparent ease. His work on Coco Jones's AEOMG demonstrated his ability to work across genres. This was a more traditional R&B production, showcasing Circuit's understanding that great production isn't about imposing a style, but rather serving the artist and the song. In his acceptance speech, Circuit spoke about the technical and emotional aspects of production. He talked about the importance of creating spaces for artists to be vulnerable, about how the right sound could unlock a vocal performance, about the countless hours spent searching for the perfect texture or tone. For aspiring producers, Circuit's win was instructive. It showed that success came not from sticking to one sound, but from developing a deep understanding of music production across genres, from being able to work with different personalities and artistic visions, from being both technically proficient and emotionally intuitive. The innovators. Tyler, the Creator, the Auteur. Tyler, the Creator's nomination for Album of the Year with CHROMAKOPIA was significant not just for the music, but for what it represented, an artist who had completely controlled his creative vision from concept to execution. Tyler was more than a rapper or producer. He was an auteur in the truest sense, someone who viewed albums as complete artistic statements rather than collections of songs. His win for Best Album Cover was particularly meaningful. The CHROMAKOPIA cover art was striking and minimalist, featuring Tyler in a way that was both mysterious and inviting. This recognition acknowledged what Tyler's fans had known for years. His visual artistry was as important as his musical output. Tyler's journey from controversial Odd Future member to Grammy-winning artist had been remarkable. He had matured as an artist while never losing the creative spark that made him special. CHROMAKOPIA represented his most ambitious work yet, an exploration of color, sound, and identity that demanded to be experienced as a complete work. The album's production, handled entirely by Tyler, was masterful. He layered jazz samples, soul vocals, and contemporary beats in ways that felt both nostalgic and forward-thinking. Each track flowed into the next, creating a sonic journey that revealed new details with repeated listens. But perhaps most impressive was Tyler's growth as a songwriter. The lyrics on CHROMAKOPIA were introspective and poetic, dealing with themes of success, loneliness, and the search for authenticity in a world that often values surface over substance. Doechii the Revolutionary. Doechii's win for Best Music Video with Anxiety marked the arrival of an artist unafraid to challenge conventions and push boundaries. The video, directed by James Mackle, was visually stunning and conceptually bold, using surreal imagery to explore themes of mental health, identity, and resilience. But the video was just one facet of Doechii's artistry. Her music blended rap, R&B, and experimental production in ways that defied easy categorization. She was part of a new generation of artists who refused to be boxed in by genre expectations, who viewed creative freedom as non-negotiable. Anxiety, as a song, was raw and vulnerable, with Doechii delivering lyrics that captured the overwhelming nature of mental health struggles while also asserting her strength and determination. The production, handled by Doechii herself, was minimalist yet impactful, creating space for her vocals and message to take center stage. Doechii's win was particularly significant given the competitive nature of the Best Music Video category. She was up against established stars like Sabrina Carpenter and Clips, yet her vision and the execution won over voters. In the lead-up to the Grammys, Doechii had been vocal about the importance of authenticity in art. She spoke about the pressure to conform, to sand off rough edges to appeal to wider audiences. Her win validated her choice to remain true to her vision, proving that audiences craved honesty and originality. The Cure, the Timeless Icons. The Cure's win for Best Alternative Music Album with Songs of a Lost World and Best Alternative Music Performance with Alone represented a rare moment where the Grammys recognized both legacy and continued relevance. Robert Smith and his bandmates had been making music for over 4 decades, yet Songs of a Lost World felt as urgent and necessary as anything they had created. The album dealt with themes of mortality, loss, and the passage of time, heavy subjects that the Cure approached with characteristic darkness and beauty. Smith's vocals, still distinctive and emotional after all these years, conveyed a world weariness that came not from cynicism but from experience. Alone, the winning performance track, exemplified everything that made the Cure special. It was melancholic yet beautiful, featuring the band's signature guitar textures and atmospheric production. The song built slowly, allowing listeners to sink into its mood before crescendoing into an emotional release. What made The Cure's wins particularly meaningful was that they came not from nostalgia, but from genuine artistic achievement. This wasn't the Grammys throwing a lifetime achievement bone to aging rockers. This was recognition that The Cure had created some of their best work decades into their career. For younger alternative artists, The Cure's success was inspiring. It showed that artistic integrity could sustain a career, that there was no expiration date on creativity, that staying true to your vision could result in recognition even after the world had supposedly moved on. The Traditionalists. Chris Stapleton, the Torchbearer. Chris Stapleton's win for Best Country Solo Performance with Bad as I Used to Be reinforced his status as one of country music's most authentic voices. In an era where country music was increasingly influenced by pop and hip-hop production, Stapleton represented a connection to the genre's roots, traditional instrumentation, honest songwriting, and vocals that conveyed genuine emotion. Bad as I Used to Be was classic Stapleton, gritty, soulful, and honest. His voice, powerful and raw, carried the weight of lived experience. The song dealt with themes of aging, change, and self-acceptance, topics that resonated across demographics. Stapleton's journey to mainstream success had been unusual. He had spent years as a songwriter for other artists, penning hits while developing his own artistic voice. When he finally stepped into the spotlight as a performer, he did so on his own terms, refusing to compromise his sound for radio play or commercial success. His performance style was equally uncompromising. There were no elaborate stage shows or choreographed routines, just Stapleton, his guitar, and his band, creating music that felt lived in and genuine. Tyler Childers, the Storyteller. Tyler Childers' win for Best Country Song with Bitten List marked him as one of country music's finest contemporary songwriters. Childers had built his reputation on songs that felt rooted in Appalachian tradition while addressing contemporary concerns. Bitten List showcased Childers' gift for narrative. The song told a specific story while touching on universal themes. His lyrics avoided the cliches that plagued much of mainstream country, instead opting for specific details and authentic voices that brought his characters to life. Childers represented a new generation of country artists who were reclaiming the genre's storytelling tradition. He was influenced by outlaw country legends like Waylon Jennings and Steve Earle, but his music also reflected contemporary Appalachian life, its struggles, its beauty, its complexity. His win was significant not just for him, but for the broader Americana and country music community. It showed that there was still room for artists who prioritized songcraft over commercial concerns, who viewed their music as part of a larger tradition that deserved respect and continuation. Buddy Guy, the Living Legend. Buddy Guy's win for Best Traditional Blues Album with Ain't Done with the Blues was a reminder that legends don't fade. They continue to create, to inspire, to show younger generations what dedication to craft looks like. At an age when most people are long retired, Guy was still recording vital, energetic blues music. Ain't Done with the Blues wasn't a nostalgia trip or a victory lap, it was a statement of purpose. Guy's guitar playing remained fierce and inventive, his vocals conveyed lived experience, and his song selection showed deep knowledge of blues tradition while never feeling museum piece conservative. Guy's career had been about serving the blues. He had been influenced by legends like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, had been part of the Chicago blues scene during its golden age, and had helped introduce blues to rock audiences through collaborations with artists like Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck. His win at the 2026 Grammys showed that the Recording Academy still valued tradition and mastery. In an industry often accused of youth obsession, Guy's recognition proved that age and experience brought artistic depth that couldn't be manufactured or rushed. The Boundary Pushers. Bad Bunny, the Global Phenomenon. Bad Bunny's win for Best Musica Urbana Album with Dubai Trar Ma Sfo de S reinforced his status as not just a Latin music star but a global cultural force. The album's title, which translated to I Should Have Taken More Photos, was deeply personal, reflecting on memory, mortality, and the importance of cherishing moments. What made Bad Bunny's artistry so compelling was his refusal to be constrained by genre expectations or commercial pressures. Dubai Trar Ma Sfo de S featured elements of reggaeton, salsa, bachata, and electronic music, all filtered through Bad Bunny's unique artistic vision. He could move from introspective tracks to club bangers without losing artistic cohesion. His win for Best Global Music Performance with EOO showed his influence beyond Latin music categories. Bad Bunny had managed to break down barriers that had kept Latin artists segregated within the industry, performing at mainstream festivals, collaborating with artists across genres, and singing entirely in Spanish while achieving global commercial success. Bad Bunny's impact extended beyond music. He had used his platform to speak on social issues, to challenge gender norms within Latin music, to represent Puerto Rican culture with pride and complexity. His music videos were cinematic events, his fashion choices challenged masculinity stereotypes, and his business decisions showed an artist in complete control of his career. Rissé and Bruno Mars, the cross-cultural collaboration. Rissé and Bruno Mars's Apt represented everything exciting about contemporary pop music, cross-cultural collaboration, genre-blending production, and the ability to create something that felt both carefully crafted and effortlessly catchy. Rissé, coming from the K-pop world as a member of BLACKPNK, brought a perspective and vocal style that was distinctly Korean pop while being accessible to global audiences. Her collaboration with Bruno Mars, one of pop music's most reliable hitmakers, could have felt calculated or forced. Instead, it felt natural, like two artists who genuinely respected each other's artistry coming together to create something special. The production, handled by Regate Chahade, Circuit, Omer Fedi and Mars, was masterful. The song incorporated elements of both K-pop and Western pop without feeling like a hodgepodge. Each element served the song, from the infectious hook to the playful back and forth between Rissé and Mars. The song's success and Grammy nominations marked an important moment in the continuing globalization of pop music. K-pop artists were no longer novelties or niche interests. They were integral parts of the pop music ecosystem, capable of creating hits that worked across cultures and languages. FKA Twigs, the artistic purist. FKA Twigs' win for Best Dance Electronic Album with EUSCXUA was recognition of one of music's most uncompromising artists. Twigs had spent her career creating music that prioritized artistic vision over commercial concerns, and EUSCXUA was her most realized work yet. The album was a journey through sound and emotion, featuring production that was simultaneously organic and synthetic, minimal and maximal. Twigs's vocals were used as an instrument as much as a vehicle for lyrics, often processed and layered to create textures rather than traditional melodies. But what made EUSCXUA special wasn't just its sonic innovation, it was the emotional honesty that permeated every track. Twigs had always made deeply personal music, but this album felt like she was letting listeners even further into her world, sharing vulnerabilities and desires with startling frankness. Her win was significant because it showed that experimental, challenging music could still find an audience and receive recognition. In an industry often focused on the safe and familiar, Twigs represented the importance of taking risks, of trusting that audiences were sophisticated enough to appreciate complexity. The collaborators. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, the theatrical duo. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande's win for Best Pop Duo Group Performance with Defying Gravity was both expected and deeply moving. The song, from the film adaptation of Wicked, represented the culmination of years of anticipation and the meeting of two extraordinary vocal talents. Erivo, a Tony-winning stage actress and accomplished recording artist, brought theatrical power and emotional depth to her performance. Her voice could soar and whisper, could convey strength and vulnerability often within the same phrase. She approached Defying Gravity with the reverence it deserved while making it her own. Grande, pop's most technically proficient vocalist, matched Erivo note for note. Her performance showed growth and maturity, moving beyond the pop diva persona to deliver something genuinely theatrical. The chemistry between the two artists was evident, their voices blending and contrasting in ways that elevated the material. The performance was notable for its faithfulness to the original while bringing something new. The arrangement, production, and performances honored the legacy of Wicked, while making Defying Gravity feel fresh and relevant for a new generation. Christian McBride Big Band, the Jazz Maestros. Christian McBride Big Band's win for Best Large Jazz Ensemble Album with Without Further Ado, Vol. 1, proved that big band jazz was alive and thriving. McBride, one of jazz's most respected bassists and bandleaders, had assembled a group of world-class musicians to create an album that honored jazz tradition while pushing it forward. The album featured arrangements that showcased both individual virtuosity and collective interplay. Each musician had moments to shine, but the focus was always on the ensemble, on how great musicians could come together to create something larger than themselves. McBride's leadership was evident throughout. His arrangements were sophisticated yet accessible, challenging yet swinging. He understood that big band jazz wasn't a museum piece but a living tradition that could still excite and inspire. For jazz fans, McBride's win was validation that the art form was in good hands, that younger generations were learning from masters while adding their own voices to the conversation. The composers and arrangers. Remy LeBoeuf, the modern composer. Remy LeBoeuf's win for Best Instrumental Composition with First Snow showcased a composer comfortable working in both jazz and classical traditions. The piece, performed by Nordkraft Big Band with LeBoeuf and Danielle Wirtz, was cinematic and emotional, using a large ensemble to create textures that ranged from intimate to overwhelming. LeBoeuf's compositional voice was distinctive, melodic but adventurous, structured but flexible. First Snow built gradually, introducing themes that would be developed and transformed throughout the piece. The writing for the ensemble was sophisticated, showcasing LeBoeuf's understanding of orchestration and his ability to create emotional impact through instrumental music. His win was significant for composers working outside traditional classical music spaces. LeBoeuf represented a generation of musicians who moved fluidly between jazz, classical, and contemporary composition, who saw these distinctions as less important than creating meaningful, beautiful music. The 8-bit big band, the genre benders. The 8-bit big band's win for Best Arrangement, Instrumental or A Cappella with Super Mario Praise Break, was one of the night's most delightful surprises. The arrangement, by Brian Carter, Charlie Rosen, and Matthew Whitaker, took music from the Super Mario video game franchise and transformed it into a gospel-inflected big band jazz extravaganza. The arrangement was both playful and technically impressive, requiring the big band to navigate complex rhythms and harmonies while maintaining the joyful spirit of the original video game music. The addition of gospel elements created unexpected connections between seemingly disparate musical traditions. This win represented the Grammys at their most open-minded, recognizing that great arranging could come from anywhere, that video game music deserved serious treatment, and that innovation often came from combining elements that hadn't been combined before. The Legacy Projects. Joni Mitchell Archives. The win for Best Historical Album went to Joni Mitchell Archives Volume 4, The Asylum Years, 1976-1980, a project that showcased one of popular music's greatest artists during a crucial period of her career. The compilation, produced by Patrick Milligan and Mitchell herself, featured unreleased recordings, alternate takes, and live performances that provided insight into Mitchell's creative process. What made this project special was Mitchell's involvement. She had curated the material, written liner notes, and ensured that the sound quality met her exacting standards. This wasn't a cash-grab greatest hits package, but a serious archival project that treated Mitchell's music with the respect it deserved. The period covered, 1976 to 1980, saw Mitchell at the height of her creative powers, experimenting with jazz fusion, working with legendary musicians, and creating some of her most sophisticated and challenging music. The archives captured this period in all its complexity, showing an artist constantly pushing herself and her collaborators. For music historians and Mitchell fans, this project was essential. It filled in gaps in the discography, provided context for her artistic decisions, and demonstrated that even unreleased material from a true master was worth careful attention. John Williams, the Maestro. The win for Best Music Film went to Music by John Williams, a documentary that explored the career of perhaps the greatest film composer in cinema history. The film, directed by Laurent Bouzereau and produced by an all-star team including Steven Spielberg, Ron Howard, and Kathleen Kennedy, was both a celebration and a serious examination of Williams's artistry. Williams had scored over 100 films, creating themes that had become part of cultural consciousness: Star Wars, Jaws, Indiana Jones, Harry Potter, and countless others. But the documentary went beyond the greatest hits, examining Williams's compositional techniques, his collaborations with directors, and his influence on multiple generations of composers. What made the film compelling was its willingness to treat Williams as a serious composer, not just a Hollywood craftsman. It placed his work in the context of classical music tradition, showing how his scores engaged with centuries of compositional practice while creating something distinctly cinematic. The win acknowledged not just Williams, but the art of film scoring itself, recognizing that great film music was an art form deserving of respect and serious attention. The Emerging Voices.